1st of March 2017. Welcome to the Journey of Possibility podcast with Erkan Ali and Gill, Tiney. This is our third podcast, and we're going to have a little look about over the week that we've just had and see what that brings up for us in various ways and see where it takes us.
Hi everyone, Erkan here as well. We've had some really great feedback as well, we'll kind of feed that in, and we've had some observations that people kind of fed back. Obviously the first one of the things that we took on was we're not waiting to get it perfect to do this, because I think then that would
wait a long time.
That would be a long process. So and I suppose obviously we're doing the podcast to contribute learnings and understandings and share what we're gleaning. Obviously, as once we start our guests start joining us, is to pass that learning on. So if there's something that you want to do or you're waiting to get done, don't wait to get it. You already have everything you need, or someone does. So if you need a mic or you need a camera, or you're not sure what to do, it's just consider whatever's in the way. Those kind of things are always in the way. So the best thing to do is get started. And I always advocate to clients as well, don't get it perfect, get it started. Don't worry, people will tell you how to make it perfect.
Oh yeah.
You should have done this a bit different. And you know what, take all that with a pinch of salt and just follow your
It's got instinct as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to get it out there. I think as well, take this opportunity to say if there's any collaborators out there that are interested in being part of this conversation, wants to take a chair at this seat, at this table, then get in touch with us and let us know. Obviously we've got a few on our hit list already, but if there's something you've got a burning desire to talk about and share, then Journey of Possibility is the place that you can come. Just let us know.
I mean, one thing I've noticed, Jill, is especially with number one, I think it's kind of shifted a bit with second one, is we're very nice to each other. I mean, we're kind of presenting like...
I'm ready to...
like...
We are too nice.
What was that TV couple that used to be...
Richard and Judy.
Judy's show. This is not the Richard and Judy show. And we don't want to come over all nicey.
No.
We want to challenge each other. The problem is we do agree on a lot. Or not necessarily agree. We're not looking for agreement, but we're aligned. Yeah. I think it's a very different terminology than agreeing with each other, but actually we feel the same about certain things, and we have a different take on those things, even if we agree. You could agree that something is a certain way with someone, but then how you get to that point might be different, your methodology, your view. So one of the things we're going to be working towards in the podcast as well is to kind of generate some friction where it genuinely exists, where we may have a bit more heated about where the gaps are between alignment, non-alignment, or understanding. Because I think sometimes I may say something, or Jill may say something that I don't quite get what she's saying or whatever, and create a bit of friction.
I was just thinking one of the classic frictions was when we were in the car going to the Tuesday meeting and we were talking about money. We were literally yelling at each other in the car. There was no, you're the worst person on earth, I hate you. It was none of that. It was just like, what are you talking about? You have no idea. And it was literally shouting. But it was such a good conversation, wasn't it? It was
I know. And you had a good conversation because you stop talking and that silence is deafening. It's like it was like an echo in the room or at that time in the car. And I remember and all I could hear was my breathing.
Weren't you lucky you were still breathing?
Yeah, I was like still breathing. But I encourage that. I encourage it because something you said I think it was the last podcast about we're polite. I don't want to be polite. And we said, respect and have, take the opportunity to listen because you may hear something that is really contrary to what you think or how you see the world, and be willing to be challenged. And quite often people say, well, I'm open. It's one for me. It's like, because I'm open. Oh yeah, really? Like, the next sentence I say, well, that can't be the case. So, you're not open, are you?
Yeah.
Consider it fully. And I remember Peter Joseph. I think he said in Culture and Decline series. He said. I don't care what you believe. I don't even care what I believe. Because what I might think tomorrow may be completely different to how I think today. Because the challenge in the world, the global, our lives are, if we take on the premise that change is the only constant, then really, how often in your life, or when now, do you see things a certain way now? You see things a certain way that 5, 10... 10 minutes ago you didn't see it in a new way, so be open to that because on your path that's part of that journey.
But people's identity is so wrapped up in what they believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they hang on to that and it's very hard to just let go and there might be another way.
Yeah, or people say to me, well, what do you believe in? I'm like, not a lot really. I think the word believe is quite it's kind of on some levels it could be life or death. Let's say we were in a life or death situation, or you're stuck in a mountain and there's snow, and you're like, I believe we'll make it back down, like unquavering belief that we will get out alive and we'll get down to the bottom of the mountain. And I think on things like that, I think sometimes they're the, you know, life or day you hear. There's a really again, we want to mention books, and it's like the Touching the Void book about where they get one of the climbers has to cut the cord and then the other one has to make it down on his own.
Unbelievable.
You know, I imagine that took a huge amount of belief and strength and commitment and resolve. But what I'm kind of saying belief is like be open to be challenged in anything that you already go, well, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Because I bet you there's probably, you know, when you're 8, there were things that you would have put, you know, you would have gone, no, that's the way that is. And then like when you're 10 or 12 or 15, or you get married, you have kids, all these demarcations change the way you view the world. And I think just keep open to what's possible. And, you know, is the title of the podcast. So, what's on your mind, Jill?
Okay, well, I was just wanted to kind of celebrate, first of all. A couple of things that have happened. The first one, the London meeting on Tuesday, just gone. I was just blown away by everyone that stood at the front of the room, whether it was a minute or an hour. Everyone contributed in an amazing way, and the people that were there experienced a fantastic space of possibility, and it was created with the whole collaboration. So if you accept or you take that was a Tuesday meeting, then on Thursday I was kind of with the establishment going over the British standard for collaboration, and I use that as a perfect example of how we come together. And that meeting, if you and I had been stood at the front of the room, it would be a great meeting, but it wouldn't have been as good as the way it was, because people were collaborating together and sharing and creating ideas, looking at the core values, and as a whole, individually, great things, but you put them together as a whole.
So it's that synergy. We've been talking about that synergy, haven't we? And the power of that in terms of the collaboration. But I just want to go back to something you said. So be people listening at the moment that don't realise, probably never knew, we didn't know until about 3 years ago, I think. Andrew Foy has been working with us very closely, and Sarah Wilborn, to get the British standard for collaborative working. So there is a British standard, very new British standard, called the BS 11000. And the big news on that is not only we got audited yesterday. Yeah,
but yesterday. So we're done for the first year. So we now still have the British standard, but there is an international standard, 44001, in collaboration. But it hasn't come into. So it's been announced, and I think it's going to be June.
So that'd be an ISO. Yeah. So do we automatically get the ISO?
We move forward. Yeah, we go through that.
So by then, you know, for a small little club members organisation is where we're at now, to have be one of the first organisations on the planet to have an ISO in collaborative working and creating collaborative community. Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I just want to say well done.
Thank you very much.
No, I mean really, not like well done, pat on the back. I mean, no, it was. I mean, because it's not you, is it? It's not your natural state to be doing that, and not mine. And I just really admire.
Well, one of us had to take the biscuit, didn't we, and do it, but it. Actually, when you do something that's challenging to you and you do something that you don't want to do and it's kind of, oh, go on then, I'll do it. The people I was working with made it an absolute joy.
Yeah.
And how much I have learned as a result of that. Being in a space that I wasn't comfortable with and actually going back to what I believe. You know, I could have sat there with my self-limiting beliefs going, I don't do this kind of thing. This is detail. I'm not into detail. I don't do cross-referencing. This is ridiculous. But by being with Andrew and having it guide, and hopefully them working with me, I think they would say that they've learned a lot as well, because one of the classic times was when we were getting ready for the first audit this time last year, and Andrew had sent me a list of questions, what's this, and I just looked and I was like, I can't do this is too difficult,
but something said I can't do it before even you said it.
It just didn't feel right. It was I've worked out over the years that when I have a feeling here and my heart's beating faster, it's a challenge, it's exciting, and I'm going to overcome it. But when I have a feeling down here, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. It didn't feel right.
It's a bit like Darth Vader on Star Wars. Don't trust your feelings; they betray you.
Oh, okay, didn't know that. I should watch some more of these sci-fi movies. There's a lot of truth in them, I know. So
it wasn't Darth Vader. It was probably Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that doesn't mean anything to know. But all the Star Wars fans will know about that one. But the idea is actually sometimes your feelings betray you. Like sometimes you would call it innate understanding of something, but you've been, I don't know, if you've had a certain way of, I don't do that, or that's not my kind of thing, or I don't get in front of the room and talk to people, or I couldn't possibly just phone people out. Whatever it is you've got that is a barrier, consider that it's not true. Because you did have that as a barrier, and I would have that as a barrier for sure. But you went through it anyway.
I went through it. No, but I didn't quite go through it. My whole point is my intuition was going, the way we were doing this isn't right. It didn't fit BeCollaboration. It wasn't the right thing to do. Right. So my heart is down here. And in the end, I just said to Andrew, I'm not happy with this. This isn't working. Now, normally, Andrew would be like, snap, emails back, phone calls, whatever. And I didn't hear anything for about 2 or 3 hours. And I'm like, flip, I'm upset. What have I done? And, and then he came back going, you're absolutely right. We are making ourselves fit in with them. And we're actually living and breathing collaboration, and they're going to have to fit in with us. And that was the beginning. And that was the beginning of me going, okay, I'm back in my space.
So high challenge, low skill, because it's not something you normally do, and then also your innate wisdom as well. Yeah. So there's things that we know we can do. There's things we know we're not very good at. But there's also things that you've ever been doing something that you know you don't want to be doing. Like it goes against who you are. Yeah. And I bet it's not easy. But I suppose it's something about trusting yourself authentically, whether that's something. But also not trusting yourself. Because if you listen to yourself too much, you won't do anything. Yeah. Well, I can't possibly do that. I can't do that. And the idea of going out of your comfort zone will bring new adventures, will bring new opportunities, and I bet some failures. Because all right, this is kind of a good news story that we did it and it changed for us, and it could have not. They could have gone, no, you don't. And
if
that's
you're not going to tick that box, you're out.
Yeah,
we did take a huge risk.
Yeah, exactly. So there's risk involved in this as well.
But I was really proud of the relationship that I developed with Andrew, that he listened to what I was saying. He wasn't just going, oh flip, why can't you just do that, and then we can tick that box, it's fine. He listened, and that's why he spent that time coming back to me, because he was working out, well, actually, this is what she's saying, so where is it missing?
Well, the other element I hear there is the background of relatedness and trust. So in that, if you trust each other and you've got that relatedness, that you can go, hey, this isn't working, and then someone will go, okay, you know what? If Jill says this isn't working, I should look at it in a different way. I can look at it in this way. I can look at it in that way. Many ways to skin a cat kind of thing, as opposed to if there's no trust or respect, you kind of go, no,
I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly, and then suddenly the whole thing becomes like, oh, so we tried and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So notice again how you sum up those areas of life or those endeavours where things didn't turn out, as how do you sum them up? So you either have the result or you have the reasons, and what are your reasons? Are there some of them? Are they familiar reasons? Maybe you say to yourself, well, they didn't listen to me, or no one values my opinion. Notice where they're familiar, because then that's your stuff. Yeah. How you justify results in one way or another, and then look, there may be something to find. It's good to look.
Well, this is the thing. It's about being open, isn't it, and looking at that. That's why I go by my intuition a lot, from the point of view of, is it something that excites me, that feels right, that I should be doing, and even if it's a mountain to climb and it feels daunting, if there's a little part of me that's like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And this is what Dave was talking about on Tuesday, isn't it? It's like you take little steps. You don't have to get to the summit at Everest. You just get to base camp. And what do you do to get to base camp? Well, at some point, you've probably got to book a flight. Maybe, take it right down to the nth degree. And I think the thing that we were talking about as well as one of our core values on Tuesday was innovation. To my mind, the British standard in collaboration was the innovation between the three of us. Because we took what the British standard required of us, but then we saw what we were actually doing, and we made something better. So we innovated around what we needed to do.
Which is fantastic. But the thing I'd also say is that British standard wasn't designed. It was designed for, as I understand, for corporations, bigger organisations, to be able to engage with each other, to minimise the supply line, or to improve their productivity.
Well, and when there's a problem, they've got a guideline to go back to go, well, we should have done this and we should have done that.
Yeah. So it's a very different application.
Well, when he was saying, when's there conflict, I'm like,
don't really have conflict.
And why not? Well, the culture and the core values, and we're demonstrating this, and
that's interesting, really. Or people don't. We have had conflict.
Yeah, but we've got ways of working it out, so we don't get stuck with that, do we? Yeah. It's not like we get to a conflict and like, that's it. Oh well, I'm off then. I'm going. It doesn't come to that.
Yeah, but I think where there's conflict, where you got to carry on with each other, it's different to when there's conflict and other parties can go, well, okay, then I'm off. So that's interesting. Well, I've kind of noticed conflict, but also standing your ground and what you stand for. Yeah. Getting clearer about that and getting clearer about that. I think those things are really important, and I think you shouldn't be afraid of conflict.
No, absolutely.
I mean, in terms of, ideas clashing or views, I think that's part of collaborating.
Well, that's the whole thing. If you've got a conflict because I think this and you think that, it's like, why? Why is that different? Okay, let's explore. And to me, that's when the growth comes, because you can see things in a different way. Doesn't mean to say you have to change your opinion per se, but to see things from somebody else's perspective gives you an opportunity to go, oh, okay.
So in terms of collaborating, I mean, so one of the things we talked about is putting disparate skill sets together. Yeah. Now, obviously, a lawyer will see something a certain way. You know, it's years of training to see these things. Yeah. An accountant might see things this way. And we talked about coaches as well. You know, you can have many different views because they have very different ways of approaching it as well. So whereas I suppose with even accounting or legal or, you know, a web designer, you put 4 web designers in the room, they'll look at web design or their theory about online and digital. They will be changing and evolving. It's a moving feast anyway. Even if they had a view now, it could change in 3 months. Yeah. And let alone put that view in with other people, they'll have a different view.
This is what makes me laugh about any industry that you're in. They come along and go, no, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe now.
Yeah.
And what I always say with my clients is like, there's no right way to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, let's find out the way you're doing it and let's tweak that and change it and do whatever works. And what works now might not work in 3 months' time.
And what works for them, where they are.
Exactly.
So I've always struggled with this idea. You know, you get these books, 7 ways to blah blah, 5 ways to da-da, and you know, 6 ways to, and I'm like, I get it.
Because somebody that's starting from zero,
I don't want to knock it. I don't want to come over and knock
that.
it, but it kind of makes your heart sit and go. But also, you know, if you were preparing a meal, and you're going to show someone how to make that meal, that order and those timings and those ingredients are critical for the outcome that you want to achieve. So it's kind of learning those variables and how you want to apply them, because it really does make my heart go a little bit. Oh God, 6 blah blah blahs and I know that's really good for marketing that particular book or that particular, and that's why I think we've been careful not to do that with the podcast. Is like we're calling it a journey of possibility. So
we're not saying this is.
No, we're not saying this is the way to create possibility or whatever. So we're saying, well, we're on a journey. Yeah. We're inviting our audience in on a journey, and within that journey, we're learning new things as well and sharing those. And we're not like going, well, that's the way you do that. Oh, you could look at it like that, or you know, I reckon it's interesting though when we watch back. It's how often we'll say, well, that's the way you've got to have that before you have that, and you kind of go, oh, really? That's interesting.
Why?
Why? Well, do you? Because someone else could look at it and go, hold on a minute, no, you won't turn them the other way. You go, wow, I never thought. So I guess it's who you're being in line with the things you're doing, in terms of the results and the outcomes you want to produce, and keeping that in mind. Does this help me or make the difference I want it to make is always at the forefront, as opposed to how you do it.
It's like the expression, does it make the boat go faster?
Does it make the boat
what are you doing, and what's the final outcome that you're trying to achieve, and is it working in that favour? Is it going down in that direction? So one of the things we want to get into the habit of is doing one of these a week. I said it. we want to do one a week, and obviously we're going to have other guests come and join us, and then obviously maybe we'll up the pace later. I think the first 2 have taken us about 3 weeks. We've got the first 2 out. This is coming off the back of the last one going live literally a few days ago. And one of the things that we're kind of looking at, well, what we've been doing this week. So me, you're a busy boy.
Yeah, I've been a really busy boy, but I just wanted to share a fantastic weekend I had. Because I was finding that my wheels were falling off a bit in the last few weeks, and I'm kind of getting a bit ratty and a bit stressed. And you know, if you look at my diary, I use a Google diary. You look at it from beginning to end. The days are all just filled out, and I'm quite.
You're not going for the sympathy vote, surely?
No. I'm not going for the sympathy.
Everyone else watching is going, yeah.
No. But you know, you can only keep filling your diary to a point. There comes a point where it's going to crack, or you can't. You can't say. Yeah. And one of the things I have consciously done is put myself into a breakdown situation. By that I don't mean I'm going to have a breakdown, and I may do, but it's more about breaking down the way you do things to see what it's going to take to go to the next level. And the way I explain this to clients quite often, imagine you're driving, if you drive a manual, and you're in second gear and you're doing 40 miles an hour and the rev's going like that, and you're running on the limit. You're going to hit your rev limit and the engine will want to stop working, or you stay below the limit. A lot of owners I see, or business owners or people in life, what they do is they reach a limit and then they come down to like a more comfortable rev range. And what I want to do is kind of keep pushing the rev range, get the limit, and then go, right, here's third gear. Yeah. And then what I find is when you put third gear in, the car kind of lulls a bit until it starts building momentum again. So sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward. So the way I've been taking on my life, I think since ever, especially the last 3 months, I think I've really, starting new businesses, starting a podcast, upping our ante with BeCollaboration, servicing the clients, taking care of your all these things puts you into a position where whatever you're doing before isn't working. Now you have to rethink it, learn new things, maybe build teams, develop your communication, whatever it is, it gives you that opportunity. But there comes a point where you got to go, you know what, I need to break away from
this.
Well,
that's all part of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I took, I don't know, probably those who know me will know this, but I'm really into cars, and one of my passions is driving. I love being around cars. I coach a young racing driver by the name of Simon Rudd, who last 3 years has been racing the Volkswagen Cup. And we've had some fantastic results. You could find those videos if you Google them, of me interviewing him and team boss Tony Gill, which is like, I'm really proud to be part of something like that or around it. You know, like when you go into anything, there's always the inner circle. The people, you know, like you could go somewhere as within the audience, or you could when you're part of you're part of the. And I get that feeling when I go to the race. I get into the pit lane and then out the paddock, and you know, in the back, and I really enjoy that. So it's a real privilege to get that insight. So I have a passion for cars. I've always had a passion for cars, and I've got a really nice little kind of rally car that's been souped up a little bit, and we take it. I took it on the road with my friend Chris, and we drove up to Chester in Wales, and it was just nice to get out of London. You know, an hour and a half, 2 hours away, kind of almost in Brecon, South Wales, and then we drove through all these little farmlands with these little one-track roads and up and down hills and little brooks and. You know, lots of sheep.
That's Wales.
I mean, really, loads of sheep and lakes, and it was just fantastic. It was just kind of get away with a mate. You can just, and Chris is not in my life day to day. And the reason I say is he's not in my life day to day, so he's not aware of all the. And we had 2 or 3 days together, just talking about what's going on in our lives in a way that it could, you know, you could just share things. And it was like just getting away. So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it, and. We had 2 nights in Chester. First night in Chester, we ended up in a Turkish restaurant eating kebabs.
Well, why am I not surprised? It's always happened.
That was Chris's choice. I'm like, man, I can't be eating Turkish food. It was really nice. It was actually quite nice. Yes, mate. He says, there's no kebab shops in southwest London. So if you're watching this and you're in the kebab business, southwest London, no kebab shops. Anyway, but the important thing is like it's when you get that distance away, and we all know these things. I know I'm just sharing what the week's been like. But you get away, and you kind of go, whew, come back, and it took me like.
But it's just a different view. You can now see your life is over here and you're over here, and you can look back and say, oh, flip, wow, I am doing things.
And that distance from your wife or your partner, your kids, your business partner, or your. I don't really think of you as a business partner at all.
You need a time away from me. Excuse me.
Yeah, loads of time. And it's really important that, so we book those things in the diary. Because I think the thing also that, and we know this stuff, I mean, it's not even teaching anybody anything, but it's reminding ourselves to have those things in the diary. Because as soon as you book it, you're going, aren't you? Even if it's 3 months' time. You know you're going to the whatever. So so that's that. So that come back from that week, and then we had Tuesday. We had London.
Yeah.
The other thing the thing that I think you kind of said it in a way, but the thing that I got from London is that it's like the community's owning the space. Yeah. It isn't Erkan Ali show or Gill Tiney show. It wasn't any one individual show. It was we all had the experience together, created that experience. So that was really great. And so what else? Then we had yesterday. You had the British Standard. Wannabe Entrepreneur.
Oh yeah.
So Wannabe Entrepreneur is an initiative by one of our beloved collaborators. One of our as he would put it, he was with us before foreplay. I don't even know what he means by that.
I think he means at foreplay.
At foreplay.
Rather than conception. Rather than conception. But while he was off having fun with Wannabe and Beiju, I was doing the complete opposite, going through the British Standard audit.
So Wannabe Entrepreneur was something that Beiju...
So I wish I could have been there.
Beiju came up with, and this idea of bringing entrepreneurial thinking to our, to young people of school-leaving age, who are looking, maybe starting to think about their careers, maybe going on to university, getting jobs, apprenticeships, whatever they're going to be doing. And I think it's the 4th year he's done it. I think we've been involved. I've spoken at all of them, and actually it's quite interesting preparing a talk for that age, because I don't talk to that age group that often. And I thought, what do I talk about? I didn't want to come over preachy. I didn't want to come over like, hey, I'm hip and young as well. And one of the reasons I grew this beard, one of the reasons was I wanted to look really old for them.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked. Because imagine, like, you're 16, 17, you look at this bloke who's 48 years old, and you're kind of like, what, you're like, you're out of, you're almost like, 30. So what I told them was, I told them that I'm actually friends of theirs, and we know each other in the future, and the year's 2047, and I've been sent back by them to come and give them a kick up the arse. So that was the setting for it. It's like some like this time travelling, wizard, wise one.
I'm a bit disappointed, Beige, you didn't provide the dry ice and
the explosion.
Yeah.
And then, long story short, I showed them. Not long story short. We've got time for this. Yeah. So I kind of thought, well, what do I do? Because I wanted to design something specifically for them, not just regurgitate stuff that. A lot of what we're doing is very relevant and recent, and but for them, design something for 14,
that they can hear.
15-year-old. Probably, I think a bit older than that, maybe 16, 17 year olds.
Especially ready to leave school.
So I talked about this notion of having the things in life that you really want. And I kind of demonstrated, look, I drive a car I love. I go on track days. I coach racing drivers. I'm part of BeCollaboration, and I get to express myself in making a difference. I run and own businesses. I work with business. I kind of painted this life. I said, but when I was 11 years old, we talk about how right now something's happening in their life. There was one kid there called I don't want to say his name. Anyway, so there was a kid there that had a Muslim name. And I said, it must be very tough at the moment growing up with a Muslim name. And it's like, you could tell that the room just went, no, we'll talk about that. Right? And I said, well, when I was 11, I moved from North London, where it was very multicultural. There was Greek kids, Turkish kids, black, white, Asian, all that kind of stuff. And I was very happy as a kid, Jill. I remember growing up a really happy kid. And they plucked me out of school. Mum and Dad wanted to move out of London, better life, whatever. Put me into this school, Goff's Grammar School. First day of school, kid walks up to me, punches me in the face and calls me a packy. And it's like my whole world shattered. Yeah. And I lived out of that decision. The decision I made out of that was all white people are racist. And I lived out of that decision until the age of 26, when I did the Landmark Forum. And I really kind of looked at, I made that decision. What happened was I got punched in the face, called a packy. That did happen. That is what happened. And I know who did it, and I'm not going to name him. Listen, I've bumped into him many times. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm fine with him now. And we were friends years after that. But that's what happened. And I remember it made me very guarded. It made me feel like very much I wasn't part of this scene. It gave me this feeling wherever I went, I didn't belong, and I had to. So my way of surviving that was I became really. In my view, I became very intelligent. I had to know things most people didn't know, so I could outsmart them, or had some very, very acidic humour. Yeah. So if my intellect didn't keep you away, then my acidic humour would keep you away, and then if that didn't happen, then I'd have to run really fast. And my dad's coaching or advice on the subject of being bullied was punch him in the face really hard and run. Yeah,
that works for me.
Right, that was his advice. So anyway, so I was talking about how defining moments in your past will shape you, and then you forget those defining moments, right? So the way when I was at about mid-20s, my life looked like if I went into a shop and the white woman could look very much like you, went, "Hello, my darling."
That's like that. Thank you.
That's £5, Gov. Anyway, so the woman asked for a fiver, and if she looked at the fiver, that meant she was racist.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, but she made me do that all day long. But it doesn't matter. But in that filter, or if a white guy cut me up in traffic, it's because he was racist. Or if I went to a pub and didn't get served, or someone got served before me, it's because they were racist. And halfway through Landmark Forum is 3 days, and we're not out to promote any one thing in particular, but it's part of my journey, right? I got to see that all that happened was that I got punched in the face, called a packy. The decision that all white people are racist was all mine, and anyone probably would have made that decision.
2 + 2 made 5,
and it created a sort of personality trait that was actually it was a survival mechanism to be very funny, to be witty, to be smart and charming. It's how I got the girls, it's how I won my mates over. And what
you found something that worked.
It worked, of course. And the underlying issue was I wasn't enough. I wasn't brave enough or strong enough to take care of that one kid. But it was a school full of white kids. Yeah. So it was like, what are you going to do?
Couldn't have all of them.
You couldn't. So ultimately, the world's a dangerous place. You've got to kind of dance with it and not get, and you've got to take a hit every now and again. But be smart and be funny and be, charming, and you'll survive. But you kind of, what happens is you get to a point in your life where those things don't work anymore. Like you throw that at everything, it doesn't work for everything, and you don't have any other choices, become mechanical. Anyway, so the thing I was sharing with Wannabe is this idea of Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah.
So do you remember Etch-a-Sketch, where you'd have the two little dials and you'd draw something, and then it'd be really great, or it'd be really rubbish, and you go, okay, you'd wipe it and you start again.
Yeah.
Wipe it, start again. So I gave him this idea, it's like, look, whatever mistakes you make in life, whatever conclusions you come up with, don't berate yourself too much. Just put them back in the past and start with a blank slate. Yeah, Etch-a-Sketch it, start with a blank slate. And then the other thing I showed them was a picture of a naked man.
Okay. Like you do.
It was a picture of David, Michelangelo's David, and this idea is that, if you look at your life, you may see just a block of stone.
Yeah.
And what Michelangelo sees when he looks at a block of stone is David. He looks at chipping away whatever he needs to chip away to bring out this work of art. And the idea is like, well, how's your life going to be a work of art? You're the sculptor. So if you don't like what you see, guess what? Etch-a-Sketch, start again.
Yeah.
Etch-a-Sketch, start again. And it was funny, I said to you earlier on before we started the podcast, I really enjoyed doing it, I really enjoyed preparing for it, but when I came away I felt exhausted.
Yeah.
It was like, 14, 16, 17-year-old kids, I felt, this is my take on it, and I know this is true, but it's like, they've been told their whole lives to shut up, sit down, do as you're told, don't stand out, don't make a fuss, don't be...
Wear the right trainers, do the right, yeah.
And they were and some of them were in their uniforms, I think the older ones were maybe in their sixth form outfits, or whatever. And I just felt that the energy I had to put in to get, because the first two speakers went on, I think they did a great job, but you could see coming off, go, tough crowd, because they don't know how to be self-expressed in that way. Maybe outside of school context is different, because it's a school, it was like with other kids in school, and I really my experience of it was, the energy I put into that, I've not felt that depleted coming away from an event in a long time. I just literally got home and I had to have a lie down.
Yeah. I get that.
And it wasn't like I went in all rah, but it was like I could just, what I had to put in, it was almost like, if you imagine a battery and it's kind of full to the top with energy, I went in like that, and then their energy kind of went, but mine went, I mean, maybe I gave away my energy for that, maybe I should be more responsible. But it was kind of like, by the end of it, I felt like they'd gone up a notch.
Yeah.
But there's a whole nation of kids being educated like this. I don't know, is that true?
But it's not just, when you say educated, it's not just in the school system that you're talking about education, because the education comes from the parents, the education comes from the TV, and at that age, the biggest thing you want to do as a kid is to fit in.
To not stand out, to not look like...
Totally. So you've got to make sure you're part of the fashion, you've done the right thing on Facebook, you're not on Facebook, you're on Instagram, or is it Pinterest, or you've got to do all the right things, and the pressure is phenomenal. And then add into that the education system, whereby they've got to do the SATs exams. Hang on, is that for the pupil or for the school? Actually, it's for the school and how the school gets money. So why are we worried about frigging SATs exams? And then you take it on to GCSEs, and that's a piece of paper, and that gives you access to A-levels, and A-levels gives you access to a degree. Well, what if you don't want the degree? Why do we have to go through all of that?
But the interesting thing was, whenever we asked them, or anyone that asked them, what do you want? They go, I don't know.
Yeah. But they've not had that opportunity to have that discussion, have they?
I don't know, haven't they?
I used to do this stress busting club at a local school, senior school. So these were kids that were waiting to do their A-levels, and it was about 3 months before their A-level exams. And they were all like, you could feel this pressure, and we just sit in the room and I said, you're doing accounts, or you're doing maths, or you're doing tech, or whatever. That's why. Oh, my mum thought it would be a really good idea. Okay, what do you think? And it was this...
But there seems like a level of obedience that's really worrying. I mean, I grew up, I was in detention almost every week. Oh, literally.
But that's not...
No, yeah. I know, but that's also... And the teachers used to call me Gaddafi. Seriously.
But you don't...
No, but where's that fire in them to rebel?
I don't think...
You're not going to break me. I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. I'll do what I want to do.
Yeah, but this is it within the social group, and this is why they have these social groups, isn't it? Because there's the geeks, and there's the cool kids and all the rest of it. So they kind of go into their space so they can rebel in their little space, but actually individually they just need to belong at that time. And I think it's been documented, hasn't it? It's a social construct. It's like when you're one, you don't give a monkeys where your mum and dad are, but by the time you're 18 months, all of a sudden it's this, the mum's gone out the room and I'm going to cry because I need that mum to come back in and look after me. And when they're 2 years old, you look at kids playing and they're playing parallel. They don't give a monkeys who else is around. When they're 3, they want someone. They're very social animals. When you're teenagers, it is about fitting in. It is, you know, they don't have the. This is a theory, obviously. This is the work that's been done in the past. I can't even think. It's probably Skinner and all of those.
Gill.
But it's all those people that have done this theory, and they say that children in teenage years have a need to fit in.
I think that
the rebels come when they're 18.
Sorry to say, Geoff, that's rubbish. Here we go. Here we go.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying this is what other people have put out there.
I'm not saying it's you. I'm saying I think it's rubbish. I'll tell you why I think it's rubbish, right? If you remember that there was a video we've used it quite a lot. Is the Sir Ken Robinson's talk about the changing paradigm of education. Well, you've got an education system that's industrialised.
Yeah.
You've got an education system that compartmentalises children in terms of their age group. So, you know, we're processing in batches of date of manufacture. And then we've got bells ringing, and then we've got, this is when you go toilet, this is when you do. And then they don't really get much time to be with each other in terms of the different ages.
Yeah.
So you're creating that. The system is creating.
I'm not saying that isn't adding to it as well.
No, I don't think. No. I think I think when it's not adding to it, it's creating it. Because when you've got kids, I mean, I speak to people who homeschool, and I've seen my kids when we're on holiday, and they're hanging out with all different age groups. They don't seem to have those concerns. But yeah, inside the framework and inside the structure of that, then all those things I think personally, they're actually being designed to have those outcomes, where then suddenly then we get them as adults when they start a BeColl meeting. Hello, my name's John. How do you do? John, just be relaxed. No one's going to ask you to join. Oh, well, that's a sales conversation straight away, right? Yeah. Okay, so you can imagine it, right? So you've got all these years of
indoctrination.
I think so.
Mm.
All
I'm saying is I agree. There is definitely that space, but there is a biological way of being, and you can see it documented throughout history. It's not just the last 200 years.
Biology.
Absolutely, it's nature and
psychology.
Nature, it's that whole argument, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not argument. That's that whole discussion around what came first, chicken.
I wonder how much you say, or we say as people, that actually are really unthought of things we say.
Yeah.
I was talking with someone the other day. He said, "Well, that's human nature." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about, human nature?" It's like, no, it isn't. As I say, we're just saying, since the history of humanity we've been behaving like that. No, we haven't. And in all cultures, everywhere. So if there's something called human nature, like then that's in I think we think of it like, say, a bono. Is it a bono? Not a bono. Orangutans or primates, or certain animals have a certain level of programming, or they operate within a certain program that they couldn't operate any other way. So they don't have free will, they don't have foresight of thinking ahead. You know, if you look at an animal behave and a human, we have very much different choices. And then we say, well, if you left monkeys on there, they'd do something like this and this and this. But monkeys are operating within very, very limited programming. Whereas human beings are highly susceptible to environmental, cultural, linguistic, mainstream. You know, how we've been. So how often will we say something, and if you actually stop back and say, hold on a minute, hold on, where did that come from? You know, even if it's the assumption the globe is round.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to go down flat earth theories, right? But let's say most human beings probably don't really have a first-hand experience whether the world is round or not. We don't. You know, and I'm not going to accept, well, I've seen it on telly. Because, you know, we grew up with globes in our classroom. We grew up being told the world is round all out. And I'm not saying the world isn't round or it is round. Get me.
No, yeah, I'm just thinking.
Well, you laugh at me, right? But what I'm getting at is, imagine how many things are so inanely true that have never been examined.
Yeah.
And yet we say them without even thinking. And if someone says to you, hold on a minute, what do you mean human nature? I don't do that. Do you do that? No. Do your mates do that? No, they don't. So now it's human nature that we do those things.
Yeah.
But you've said it. So somewhere in your reality, or your perception of reality, or unconscious reality, probably more accurate, you are shaping your experience of the world in ways that you didn't even know you didn't know, and that programming or that understanding is now giving you being and action in the present.
It's a bit like Jim Carrey in the Truman Show. Did you see that film?
Oh, you know what? I was hoping he was going to say Ace Detective.
No,
that's not Jim Carrey. That's someone else.
But yeah, he's in this make-believe world, and they're monitoring everything he does, and everyone in the world is actors and actresses, and he's the only one that doesn't know that his world fake. Isn't real. Yeah. And it's a bizarre scenario. But I think human nature, people misinterpret what that is. And that's,
whatever it is, I don't know, whatever you think it is. But as soon as you say, yeah, well, that's human nature, it almost like, science says, and I go, that's the one I'm getting now.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, science, I'm like, really? Who's science? Which study? And who came up with that? You know, and science is going through a huge...
Well, it's like when everyone quotes like Maslow's theory of hierarchy. I'm like, I don't agree with that at all. And I think I had not a massive argument, but I ruined somebody's lesson when I was in a lesson once, and I was disagreeing with it, and she's like, no, you can't disagree. It is. I went, but it's a theory. It's a theory. The whole point of a theory is you're allowed to disagree with it.
But that's what I'm saying. Within the education model, there's got to be a right answer.
Yes.
And you've got to get that answer to pass that exam or whatever, whether it's physics, whether it's chemistry or English, or there's a prescripted text. There's a pretext and a context that probably precedes the pretext. Rewind that bit. You'll realise I do know what I'm saying, right? But that context, you got to ask yourself, well, what is education for?
Yeah.
And nobody's asking that question. What is it for? Why do we send our kids off to school, leave them 7-8 hours a day in the hands of state-appointed...
Because you would kill them if you had them all day. That's
why. They'd probably kill me. But really, and that is relatively new phenomenon. I mean, mass industrialised schooling of children, or if you like, conditioning of the breed.
So would you agree that in the third world, where education is revered and it's seen as a way out of poverty, that it's a good thing?
No, I don't. I think that's the problem being exploited. That's the conditioning being exploited. And this probably sound racist, and we're talking about this earlier on about what could come over sexist, racist, or offensive. Listen, anything we're saying is really committed to making a difference, but sometimes you've got to broach subjects where you are. But I've met a lot of Indian friends. I've got a lot of Indian friends who spend a lot of time investing in education. See, in my culture, they do actually. They do invest a lot in education, but I think there's a different reason for that in Turkish culture. But we were when I was brought up, I wasn't encouraged to go to school. I was told if you went to school, you'd only get so far because we live in a racist world. No. You won't be able to progress, and I think that is really true.
That's interesting.
See what I did there, right? So I know what I said. I'm just saying, right? But I do still think that's true. No, but I do. And I tell you why. If you look at the top end of the BBC, top end of all the corporates, look at all the people in government, I don't see anybody who looks like me or sounds like me. I don't see anybody like me. The odd Indian person, the odd black, person, and the rest of it all look like you, to me.
Or white male, generally.
Yeah, all white male, and not even you, they don't even look like you. So that's not by accident, is it? So you've got an education system, and if you look at the higher ends of banking, pharmaceuticals, government,
50 years ago,
civil service,
you could say that it was historical, but we've had enough time and the laws have changed that it isn't historical.
It's not historical.
It's people want to work with people that are like them. So the people at the top are already white
male. Did you just really say that?
No, I just
want to work with white women.
No. I'm just saying.
Wear all the Turkish Cypriots when you want to.
Huge generalisation is that people kind of go to don't they? Like goes
No,
to...
Jill. No, it's not that. It's really...
But what I'm saying, I'm trying to find a reason why.
No, it's controlled by certain sets of the community, and you're not invited. You have female genitalia. Sorry, can't get in.
I'm not in the club. No, exactly.
You're not.
So what I'm saying is, previously you could say it was down to the legislation's only just come in historically. It's
Why do you need legislation?
But. And other people...
We're having rows today, we're still going to heat it up. Go on.
Historically, they could have said, we haven't got enough, all different nations at the top of the BBC because the racist laws weren't in, women didn't get a vote, or, there's no equality law, blah, 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 blah.
Whatever. Have any of those laws solved anything?
This is what I'm just saying. Can you make me look my point? But they can't say that anymore, can they? No. Because that happened at the 70s, doesn't it?
Think this through, right? Who wrote those laws?
Well, exactly.
The same people that are...
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, right? So, I think education is important. Right. So I want to distinguish between education and schooling. Right. Mm-hmm. So education to me is about I think education for me is about nurturing. Well, by the way, so first start is I don't look at education as something you do when you're a kid. I look at it as a lifetime practice, right? Yeah. So education is about exploring subjects, exploring understandings that I think that person is out to understand. And so, you know, and being inspired, I use these, and these were statistics given to me by a really good friend of mine who's kind of very, real proponent, who we're going to have on the show one day, is Imran Shah. So I mentioned Imran, and he homeschools his kids.
You have to be nice to me before you come on here, Imran.
Yeah. So Imran gave me some of these statistics, but apparently the schools have our kids for 15,000 hours. And look how they come out. To work out. But
also, that's the reason why people aren't lifelong learners, because they get out of school and they're like, thank God for that. I'm done. I'm not going to go back to learn anything.
So if we take
learning. How many boys don't?
They don't read. They don't read. And I meet business owners and I say to them, "When's the last book you read?" Don't really read books. No, I watch telly, go to football matches.
The girls read books, by the way.
Yeah, what are they reading now? Mills and Bloom.
Oh!
Is that sexist?
Very, yeah.
Sorry.
You are sexist, you are racist. What else other ist can we acknowledge that you are today? It's on camera.
What are those people? Nudist.
You're ageist as well.
I'm ageist as well, yeah. So to me, is we've not been cultured, if you like, or conditioned to learn and be critical. We've not been conditioned within the education system to question and challenge. We've been taught to learn and repeat from people who are repeating.
Now, you and I are not in school at the moment. We're not learning the way the curriculum is. Obviously, I was around in the schooling system about 10, 15 years ago. But you just said we're not being taught critical thinking. Now, I know when my kids were at school, that was a lesson, critical thinking. So I'm interested to find out from people out there, if you feel that your school is giving you that opportunity to understand how to critically evaluate. So it'd be good to find out what's currently going on that you think, this is amazing, this is awesome, this is what we love. Because at the moment, two old fuddy-duddies have got this concept that actually everything in school is a bit of a waste of time.
No, I didn't say that. I think there's pockets of it as a token gesture to it. So I feel with sociology, I did sociology growing up. And in sociology, it taught me so much. Really? One of the first things I found out in sociology is that the 11 plus exams were all faked. And that was not the 11 plus exams, sorry. The studies on intelligence testing with twins, that was the precursor, the formatting for 11 plus exams based on intelligence were all fake. Wow. Right? So this whole notion of what intelligence is and how it works, I learned in sociology. So it is there. It's in pockets. So I think they're like little release valves rather than empowering and nurturing the whole educated population. Because we also know there's a huge amount of people that go through education coming out thinking they're stupid, or thinking that they can't win in that game, or they don't think they're academic. Well, I'm not academic, you know. And if you go back to the TED talk, Ken Robinson's, and it's out there, you know. And in fact, what he's saying is that the current modus operandi of education is to standardise, to control, to create obedient, good citizens that are going to pay their taxes, not going to rock the boat. And then what happens is they come out of the education system, then they're in the money system, and then conditioned by media. In fact, my kids are getting brainwashed at the moment by YouTube. And I'm really struggling with it. You know, because like, you know... Are you
the dad?
Yeah, I'm the dad, yeah. Well, I say struggling, I'm struggling on my own terms. It's like to be vigilant enough and go, hey, stop watching that, and, you know, there I was watching, you know, whatever it is, centers like addicted. You know, and... So
what do you see as a solution?
Well, there's a guy called Ivan Illich.
Okay.
Look up Ivan Illich, and he talked about de-schooling. And I learnt that back when I was 14, reading A-level sociology books. De-schooling. I think we have to really create some new schooling formats, or educational formats. I think home education is not the best method. No. I think it's an antidote to a industrialised schooling system. It's like a condom. That's not the right word, but it's kind of like, to me, I want to be able to have schools that if we design schools, what do they look like? That's what we need. We need schools that we would design, where they spend time with different age groups, different ability kids. They, you know, and adults are around. You know, like we had the kids come to BeCollaboration. Yeah. It's like, why are we hiving off our children and going, right, off you go to this state-sponsored place where you're going to have state-appointed people look after you, tell you what to do, discipline you, tell you off for 8-9 hours a day while we're busy trying to get enough money to pay all our bills. So I wouldn't have it designed like that. In fact, I'd have a completely different design method of it, and there wouldn't be roles of authority. No. So I'd take that out. I mean, I'm not authoritarian with my kids. I mean, my view of my kids is I keep you alive and give you stuff to, you know, eat.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. That's not good. It isn't good.
And then tie them back up on the wall, you know. No, what I mean is I think it's a whole redesign. I think we have to. Yeah. The problem is if you're going to, I think when we look at these challenges, we look at the schooling system and go, we've got to. It's like moving the deck chairs around on the Titanic. None of that's going to make a difference. Is changing the school because it's already within the wrong.
There are some schools out there that have rewritten the school book, and it's like the. What's his name? Ricardo Semler. He invented a school, hasn't he? Where the kids do the rules and all the rest of it. So that they're already there.
Yeah.
And he said he wanted to give the idea away for free, but people wouldn't have it. So he said, "No, I'm going to charge for it," and then they'll
pay for it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or I mean, we've got Steiner. What's the other one? Montessori type schools. I don't know enough about them individually. And you've got some fantastic homeschooling methodologies.
The sad thing about Montessori, in my opinion, is that the ethos is brilliant, but it's been monetised. And as soon as it's monetised, everything becomes rigid, and there's no freedom anymore. The whole concept of Montessori is learning through play.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Why wouldn't you love that? If you go to Montessori, if you go to Montessori nursery, it's not like that. No. It's supposed to be directed play, but it's directed as in this is how you're going to play today. You're going to do this and this. It's like, well, no, let the kid find out how they're going to. So there's lots of schools out there that have the essence of what's great.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of Ricardo Semler one, and it's wiping the slate clean with what we've got, and I think a lot of people in schools get that. There are some amazing teachers. You go to any school, even if it's the worst school in the country, there will be at least 2 or 3 amazing teachers.
I'm not knocking the people individually.
Exactly.
I'm talking about the.
But they're not allowed to do their thing.
Exactly. So they're almost like incarcerated in this system that doesn't hold true.
And of course
to their
they can't break out because then they'd lose their job, and then where would they be? So it's you're trapped. Going back to the slave thing you were saying the other day. You're trapped because you need the money. So where do you go? So do you say to the head teacher, this is not the right thing to do, we shouldn't be doing this, or do you, and they go, I'm sorry, you can't work at this school anymore, and you're restricting your whole belief system.
I've got a friend who actually buys schools for independent schools. They actually they identify land and they build them, and then all the free schools. They're called free schools.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And that's what he does. And I said, well, how do you do it? He goes, it takes about 2 years.
Yeah.
And you can actually, and he said, so you got to apply. And I said, what I would say, he goes, well, you would never get a school. They'd never give you a school. You're crazy. So already, even to get a free school, you've got to follow so many prescribed narrow point of view about what it is to educate and develop children or human beings. So the whole thing, you know, and then, you know, I meet adults, so-called adults, business owners. And they don't really learn. They don't really critical think. And it's so easy to make a difference. In a way, it's almost embarrassing. I mean, I don't know if that's the word. It's almost embarrassing to be able to make the level of difference you can make to someone as a grown adult very easily. But when you look at the conditioning and you look at the way that people are processed through schooling, and they're discouraged to think critically. I mean, how often? I don't know how often people say something and the other people go, and they just ridicule them straight away. Yeah. I mean, I get that now and again. But then I said, well, hold on. Okay, I get that. But now let's talk about it. Let's have a proper think about what I just said. You know, whether it's talking about money or the way the media works, or I remember a friend of mine when the Iraq War was about to start. He said, "But they've got weapons of mass destruction," and he pulled out the Sun newspaper and said, "See?" And I went, wow. Mate.
Yeah.
But in that world, someone like me would sound insane to someone who's reading the Sun newspaper as a way for them to be informed.
Well, that goes back to spiral dynamics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not only is it historically everyone's in a different place, but across the world and individually. You're going to come across that again and again. Now, would that change if the education system changed?
Yeah, totally.
Good, you're going to replace it with something else. It's hard, isn't it? Because I'm not saying.
No, but look at if we look at how the education system works. I mean, there's a fantastic little video by a guy called Prince. What's his name? Prince EA. I think his name's Princey, about how I sued the schooling system or something like that.
Okay.
And he makes his case, it's like, if you look at a classroom from 200 years ago, it doesn't look that different today.
No.
But you look at technology, you look at a phone from 200 years ago, you look at the phone now. So I think learning now can...
There wasn't a phone 200 years ago. Very different.
There was.
Was there?
It was like a can with a piece of string. Hello, Hartlepool 442. Yeah. And education can now. I mean, for me, my education is highly customised. You know, you just pick out your phone or your iPad, or you look at your books on Audible and the podcast. You can. I mean.
But it's all still coming to you, being filtered to you, because that's what you're choosing to look at. So you've still got a whole host of things that aren't coming to you because you haven't. So, do you see what I mean? It's
no.
Everything.
I know what you're saying, but I don't see what you mean. See, the thing is, it depends how willing you are to venture off the piste, isn't
exactly.
it?
But I'm just saying, the average Joe is still being fed everything.
But I tell you what, the average Joe is not as dumb as I don't use that term. It sounds really condescending. But I've met. And I don't mean this in any way, shape or form condescending to anybody, but I've met plumbers in a pub.
Yeah.
And I'll be having this kind of conversation, and then suddenly they open up, and you're like, wow.
Oh, they're into it,
and then like he goes, oh, I watch all that stuff. I've been, and now the thing is with all the, if you like, the alternative media and the conspiracy stuff, and I think I've said this before about conspiracy theories. The term is a CIA term that they use, that came into prevalence and usage after the Kennedy assassination, right?
Like the fake news thing.
Yeah, fake news. So, yeah, but forget fake news, it's worse than that. There's a lot of disinformation. And from what I understand is that the big art of all this thing is to hide the lies inside a pack of truth. So going back to the schooling thing, is I learned about deschooling Ivan Illich when I was 14 out of a sociology book. That's part of the curriculum for sociology. So it is in there, and if you go into psychology or philosophy, or you go into the sciences, or all the learned people know a lot of this stuff. Even the John Taylor Gatto talks about the Harvard Review of Education by Dr. Inglis, and we use. So if you look up purpose of schooling, John Taylor Gatto, we use that in the Be Inspired program, and he talks about the six principles of schooling and why it exists and what it's there to do. This information isn't. But who's looking for it? Yeah. Yeah. So I think, and then people say, well, and I've had really intelligent, smart people, really intelligent, smart people say, well, Erkan, you can listen to this person and listen to that person. Who am I supposed to believe? Literally, I've heard that, and I go, wow, did you just hear yourself? Like, just tell me where I can just accept the narrative without having to think. Yeah. Yeah. Expletive. What the, really? Did you just hear what you just said? And everybody, well, and I get it, right? I get it, because it's confusing. And there's a lot of information. And then, whenever someone says to me, oh, you believe in David Icke, do you, lizards? I'm like, and I said, okay. And I think I did this very recently with someone. I said, can I play you a 5-minute clip of David Icke? And tell me what you make of what he said. And I put it on Facebook as well. And I put it on, and they go, yeah, he's bloody right. I go, okay, right. I said, he does also talk about lizards. And to get to that level of understanding what he's talking about takes something. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, because it is a massive leap, because it's going out of our dimensions. Yeah. So we've been highly conditioned to the 5 sense reality, right? Yeah. And then we'll talk about something that operates outside the 5 sense reality. Well, how are you supposed to get it? Yeah? Do you get my point, right? So if you're really exploring and you really want to find your answers, then ultimately you're the only one.
And you're never going to be sure, are you? Because it's ongoing. There's always something else to find out.
But this assurance thing, Jill, is about what do you believe. Yeah. Don't believe anything. And I'm not saying you shouldn't believe in love and like something's going to get you down the mountain. I can, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about information presented, especially when you start going off the beaten track. Yeah. Because now it's massive. You can go off and you can be exposed to amazing knowledge and understanding, and you haven't got a clue if it's accurate or not. But what I've observed is almost everything mainstream. Is even the way it's not the factual Even that's debatable. It's the framing of it. So you've got to get away from mainstream, in my opinion. You know, if you're watching mainstream, man, good luck. Right? So then you go, okay, fine, where do I get my critical thinking? Well, I'll go into the philosophies, I'd get into the sciences, I'd get into, you know, find people that are doing interesting things and listen to what they're saying and look at that and match it up against what is it I'm dealing with. What's important to me? How do I make a difference? And I think more and more the kind of people we're attracting to BeCollaboration is they want to wake up to new understandings and they want to make a difference. They want to not only make a difference, they want to experience making a difference. Because how often people have said to me, oh, well, how are you going to change the monetary system? I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm not going to do it all on my own. How are you going to help me change the monetary system? Well, how, not just us, there's lots of people out there. You know, there's positive money talking about it. There's loads of, you know, Bitcoin, there's loads. I mean, there's thousands of them, right? So there's thousands of people talking about this.
I think this is the problem, is some people see it as too big, it's just too vast for them to contemplate. So they go back to their little fur-lined rut, their little comfort zone of like, oh, okay, I know where I stand if I read The Sun, or I know where I stand if I watch the news.
Well, if you've been conditioned your whole life that you don't make a difference and you end up cynical, resigned, and maybe bitter, then of course you're not going to make a difference. You can't make a difference. No. You already. So, but if you get like everything I do impacts the planet and the universe, everything I do makes a difference. Just letting someone out in traffic makes a difference. So if you break it down to, I like the Abraham Hicks learnings, is this idea that there's this kind of, you've got this vibrational escrow. It's like you've got this deposit account. And it's, I guess it links to karma, but I think of it like this, it's more like my own personal experience in the moment. I let someone out in traffic, they look at me, they smile, I smile at them and they go, I made a difference. Now does that change the banking system? Yeah. I think it does. It does. It does that, doesn't it? So the world of scarcity, fear, competition, and we're contributing to that experience, and then we have a monetary system that's based in it, and a news system, and an education system.
So when you feel that anything you do is ineffective, then everything you do is going to be ineffective. So by coming to a group like BeCollaboration, you're kind of stepping into that little bubble of real openness and possibility, where back in your everyday life you think, oh, am I going to break out of this? Nothing's possible. And you think, hang on a minute, half a day a month to go and find out with other people what they believe, what they're thinking, and the group grows and grows, and then, you know, as Margaret Mead says, that's the only way you're going to change anything, by lots of small steps forward.
You don't know the quote? I'm very disappointed. I can see your face. She doesn't know the quote. And not
Never doubt. Never doubt.
That a small group of committed people can make a difference. In fact,
it's the only thing that ever has. There we go.
And I think part of the illusion of the school, and it starts with schooling, is that you can't make a difference because I
think it starts with the parenting. I think.
Yeah, but they were educated by the performance system.
Yeah, but you can still.
Oh, a chicken and egg.
Yeah.
But they've already.
They have to be responsible for not realising that they're sending their kids off, and that's my responsibility.
But that's what they were conditioned for.
Yeah, but they can change.
No, okay, all right.
So what I'm saying is, if you say it starts with the schooling, then that lets them off the hook. I'm saying it starts with parent. You're responsible for those children 24/7.
No, I agree, but I'm going to put this on as well. Is but the problem with this, with the education system, is the industrial process.
Yeah.
So you could have your little bit of farmland over there and your little allotment and grow organic carrots or whatever you're doing over there on a small scale. But the point is then, the mass scale, mass humanity is being fed by industrialised food production.
Yeah.
And I think there was Jamie Oliver recently won a court case against McDonald's, didn't he? About their food not being food. Or was that
That was, yeah.
I
don't believe everything you read.
No, I don't know.
No, he did, but it was about 7 years ago, 2012.
But I'll be honest, I saw it come up and I thought, was this something I haven't read it? But the point I'm making is we are the effect of mass programming.
Yep.
Right, and I know it sounds really, but you could say, well, if you're living in England and you're really happy with it, well, let's talk about the mass programming in Korea. Or the mass programming in India, or the mass programming in Russia. You go, well, yeah, it's a load of rubbish over there, but our programming,
yeah, fine.
Our programming's
I'm all right, Jack.
Yeah, float a flag. I go to Turkey sometimes, And you kind of get there and you go, wow, they've got pictures of this man everywhere. You know, and there's a lot of people that are not for it. Whether it's the latest person in government or it's Ataturk or, you know, this kind of conditioning is, I guess, the best word. Culture, expectation. And if you drop out of it, you're kind of then seen as a... And you know, this idea that a true person of integrity is never really... He's always at odds with his environment or her.
So do you feel then... I mean, I accept a lot of, you know, historically of what's happened so far and where we're at, but it's for my mind, I'm always thinking about what's going forward. So if you believe that it's the education system that's the damning arena,
I think the education system is an instrumental tool.
So that's where we need to find a way, and whether it's create our own school and you get one school and you get 2 schools and 10 schools, or the small version forward. But, you know, I mean, we've got Dave Neese who says he wants his own school. We've got Dave Caudle who would love to do that. And
would you bring your kids to Dave Caudle's school?
Yeah, damn right. Yeah.
Should give him a
No, I want to teach it down to Dave Caudle's school. Yeah, give us a job, Dave.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm getting at. You know, Dave. If Dave Caudle and you run the country, I mean, I'd vote for you. But you don't get that choice, do you?
No, I'm white female. Would you though? Really? Probably not. One colour skin.
I would. I'd vote for you.
Thank you.
You need a tan though.
I'd never get one of those. So, my dream is a BeCollaboration meeting in every school. So at least they've got that. So even if it's the school is following another system that doesn't work, at least they'd have that space where they can be empowered to think for themselves and to understand. So there's little things that we can do going forward in order to change what's going on.
I think at the moment, the more we're looking at this, is there's an attack on consciousness. There's a dumbing down. There's a education, there's a conformity, there's a don't break out of the norm, don't step out of the norm because you get ridiculed, you get laughed at, you don't, you know, I saw, it's really interesting, I was watching this thing about, there's a new documentary around 9/11, and because it's been a while now, there's a lot of, you know, people, more establishment people kind of perking up and saying, you know, that's clearly if you like, the given narrative does not explain this event, right? And one of the big things was, well, how comes a lot of people, even the standard practices on how you investigate a murder scene or crime scene weren't followed. So people in the police forces in America, in that environment, know these things. But one of the things that's coming up is that they didn't stand up and say anything because they would lose their job, they'd lose their pensions. So I think a big part of us solving these global, you know, what we term the unsolvable, is changing the narrative. Is raising the consciousness of individuals. And I think I don't say I believe, but as your consciousness rises, instead of going all white people are racist because Packy, is that all human beings are racists? You know, was that Avenue Q? We're all a little bit racist, and we are. You know, it could be, or it could be like, you know, I support Tottenham, you support Arsenal, I drive a BMW, you drive a blah blah. You know, there's so many ways we kind of go. They're not my kind of. Even I've heard people say BeCollaboration. Oh, BeCollaboration people. I'm like, no, this is a conversation we're buying into, and I think there is something about cult-like behaviour. I think human beings, on some level, and I think this is probably fallout of our slavery genetics, we want to devolve our power. We want to give our power away. So we want to feel like we belong to something and we're part of something.
Well, yeah. That's where I was going back to the point of social animals.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I think a BeCollaboration, I'm really encouraging self-actualising. It's like, you look at it, you'd work it out and come up with your own view. You know, that holds true to you. Don't believe the leader told you this. Or idolising certain people. I would say get a wide spread of information. Don't make any one person or group idolise that source of knowledge. because then I think it becomes cult. And I'm really clear, I don't want BeCollaboration to be cult-like.
No, I mean, you don't, if you're following somebody and, oh, they're amazing, they're fantastic, and then when they come across with something that doesn't quite fit, and you go, but I think everything else they've said is fantastic, so I'll believe them. And you carry on, and all of a sudden you're narrowing everything that you...
No, just take the risk. It's like going back to the David Icke thing, the thing about the... And also you've got to remember, the way the David Icke thing's been, especially with the... You know, if you've got to ridicule someone that's saying something of value, you've got to ridicule them because it undermines everything they say. You know, if you believe that, exactly. So to me, if you have a critical view of things, you're not believing David Icke or not believing David Icke. You're looking at each individual bit of information on its own merit, and then go do the research for it, and then ask yourself, well, on last David Icke event I was at, and again I go to lots of things, right? I took a whole list of authors and speakers he spoke about, and I'll go off and I'll go and find out what they're saying, you know, and then wherever you're at that time, you may find something that resonates with you there, and in 3 years' time you look back and go, actually, that was a bit mundane compared to where I am. And I think I think that for me is the essence of the journey of possibility. Is in my mind, it's about making a difference to the human experience, transforming the human experience, having the courage and the compassion for myself and others to make that difference. I'm not advocating that everything that we share is true or not true.
No.
I'm saying, well, we might want to look there.
This is one of the big things that I always find interesting when you start talking to people about, you know, I'm curious, let's find out about this, and then they go, you believe that? And it's this, there's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And again, this is the indoctrination that has come through. Everybody sees it as black and white. You know, you vote Conservative, you vote Labour. It's like, well,
really? It's more complicated.
It's so much more. But it's the derision that you get from some people when you don't believe what they believe.
And I think that's the when we term cognitive dissonance, right? So if you're, and I think we're complicit in our own conditioning. So if you are reading The Sun and then watching Newsnight, you probably wouldn't watch Newsnight. I don't know, maybe you would. And then you bloody Muslims. I'm like, just, you know, I've met Muslims, the most amazing, and I've met really great Christians.
Of course, yeah.
You know,
and really great atheists, really great agnostics.
Exactly. You know, just don't be an arsehole, basically.
I've got to tell you the story about when we're very blessed in the BeCollaboration area that, you know, everyone's open and respectful of each other's opinions and thoughts. We had a wonderful discussion at Brexit when it first happened, you know, and there was no right or wrong. It was lots of anger and upset, but within that room we were able to listen and hear each other's opinions. And in London, multicultural, it's a bit like when you first went to school, you know, you didn't come across racism because there's all sorts of, you know, kids in all sorts of things. So it's the same as if you're lucky enough to be in a classroom where maybe 2 or 3 people have got a physical or mental handicap. You kind of get used to people being in that, so it doesn't seem weird to you. So I went off to Somerset to see a client, and I stayed overnight after the Westminster incident had happened. So I'd heard that it had happened, but I hadn't heard any of the fallout of what they thought it was. Is it a terrorist? Is it this? Is it ISIS? Is it whatever? And I was speaking to the lady that ran the hotel, and we were just talking about it generally, and I said, have you heard any more? She said, oh yeah, well, that ISIS, the terrorists are terrible. And I said, oh, was it ISIS then? I hadn't heard. She said, oh, well, they haven't actually said on the telly, but, well, you could tell, couldn't you? What do you mean could tell? Well, I saw him. Did he say anything? I thought he was dead. Well, no, he was dead, but I saw him. So how do you know he was, did he have a flag or something for ISIS? Or, no, but you could tell. Could tell what? Oh, you could say it was very Muslim-y. He looked really Muslim-y.
Wow.
What is that? And I was like...
Do you think that would be unusual? That's not... I don't think that's...
Well, the worst thing was that I was like... shocked, and I'm like, do I say something now and I've got to go? And
well, how weird do you want to stand before you leave?
Yeah. And am I supposed to be coming back, you know, this time next month? But I was shocked. Totally shocked. But I kind of left her in her little bubble. It was, I can't remember what I said at the end of it, but I went to the place where I was going and had a conversation with some of the people there, and they just went, yeah, she's got a point. And I was like, whoa, she's not one in a million, all on her own. No. In this arena, this is how people are thinking. So you live in your own little bubble, in your own little world, and you think, well, this is what the rest of England is like. And it ain't. It's just so horrific that we kind of work hard to find out about things and learn things and understand things, and they just get fed
Oh yeah. The current
And they take
narrative that's being pushed down the road, and I bet even if you said to somebody, let's take 9/11 as an example, and you say to somebody, look at this without the narrative. What does it look like? What does it look like? Without all the, immediately they knew it was Osama bin Laden, and immediately they knew who the hijackers were, the passport that was, the whole thing. But it's like kind of, if you actually if you actually think it through, and even if they go, yeah, I agree, I've had people say, yeah, it's all bullshit, and then you say to them, and how do you feel about Muslims? Oh yeah, Muslims, well, immigrants, you don't want them. Do you know what I mean? It's like the condition has taken hold. Even if you don't buy the narrative, the main point is Muslims are to be feared, Irish people are to be feared, blacks are to be feared. Anybody, it's all about. It doesn't matter who it is, to be honest.
Well, it's going back to even from comedy roots. The Irish are thick, the Scottish are mean, the Italians are cowards. What they all say about in English, who knows? But we've all got these little things of like all these people. Really, every single one. Are they?
I can tell you, but I don't think it's for today. No, seriously, the English are a very unrespected race. I'm sure. I mean, they're all hooligans for a start.
Yes.
Lager swilling, football hooligans, don't respect their mums.
Yeah.
Wear their flags on their pants.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Turkey, you look at it and go, I remember we used to drive to Turkey by car as a kid. And you tell people you're from Britain, like, oh, you're from England. And then I can't remember what it was. I think it was, this was like 78, 79. I think there was a big football tournament around 80, 81.
Oh, in the 70s as well.
Yeah.
Bad time.
And it was really bad. Yeah. And then you'd go through Europe in the early 80s and the people didn't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And we're not obviously English, but we'd have a GB,
plaque,
UK plates and left-hand drive car. And, and also I think it's kind of, how in England we think we're all very civilised and we're all like, people don't think that at all out there.
No.
They actually think we're like, I say we, like we're all a bunch of yobs basically.
Yeah, I get that.
Lager, because also if you look at our drinking laws, everyone piles out the pub at 12:30, whatever it is, pissed,
obscene,
urinating in the street, they laugh at us.
Well, also in the 70s it was a booze culture anyway, because you'd go to the pub lunchtime. Nowadays, well, in London anyway, you don't seem to be going down the pub at lunchtime, do you? And some offices are even banning it, aren't they? So
are they? Yeah. Also, when you see the British on holiday.
Yeah. How embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really. I mean, I don't think you kind of see that in other races. I've not really noticed it. But usually, be the English or when I say English, I mean British, like the Irish, the Scottish. They'll be like, whether it's Ibiza or wherever it is, it's like you look at it and you're kind of like going, you know what, I don't want to be associated. So we don't have a great.
No.
We're not classy.
No. It's like that comedian whose name I can't remember was talking about. We all get very territorial. It's like he was from Liverpool, and it's like Everton, Liverpool. Oh yeah, we're on side. And all of a sudden it's Liverpool, Manchester. Oh well, we're better than you. And then it's the north and the south, and then it's England and France. And as it goes around, then it's the east and the west, and it's like we all kind of gang together, and it's a social thing, isn't it? Everyone wants to belong somewhere. It's kind of being part of that.
Yeah, but also there has to be an enemy. There has to be someone that you despise. Well, again, going back to the John Taylor Gatto's talk, part of the education process is to divide and conquer. Yeah. So if you keep people divided and in competition, then you control them. And if you keep them in fear, competition.
And the minute you say to somebody, when they're having that conversation about, the Irish are this or the Scottish are that, you're a human being, really? Every single one, they're like,
the term I love is immigrants.
Right.
Even in America, immigrants. Hold on, you're an immigrant.
Yeah.
Trump. And
everyone.
They're all immigrants.
Yeah.
The only people that was it? There's a picture on Facebook, like a red Indian chief going, "Oh, you want immigrants? So great. When are you leaving?" Yeah. But even the whole term is like immigrant. And you go, wow. Do you realise what you just said? You're fifth generation, whatever it is. You're not indigenous to this land.
Yeah.
And you're talking about immigration, building a wall. It's like, and it's kind of mind boggles really. But I wonder how many of those things we're saying. Where we're putting up barriers to something, or we're putting up no possibility. And I don't mean we as in necessarily just me and you, but anybody listening to this, there'll be places that you got that are like that.
Yeah.
They're no-go areas, or you'll say something and just listen to yourself and go, wow, look what I just said. Wow, I just said something. That was really, this is where I think doing these podcasts are really interesting, because you start to hear yourself saying stuff you say all the time,
And you think it's normal,
and,
it's okay.
you kind of say it, and then I'll learn from this. I'll listen to this later, and I'll go, oh, I could have framed that bit different. I could have said that bit better. Or imagine I could have just alienated half our audience because I said it that way.
Yeah.
And you won't know that stuff until someone responds and goes, oh, you're racist as well because you said da-da-da. And you go, point taken, I didn't come over that. You know, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know, or you go, no, mate, that was irony, you retard, go and read a book, you know, or something like that. See, now I'm going to get but no, but the thing is until you know, I think this is where authoring is really important, or writing a book, or doing blogs, or creating content, puts your ideas not only for others to challenge, but for you to be challenged by them. Because you say, how often do people shoot their mouth off in the pub or at work, and you go, but you've just opened your mouth, and you have no accountability or responsibility for what you just said. So if I just took you on what you just said, let me point out what you just said, and they'll go, well, I didn't mean it like that. So what did you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what I meant. I said, because most of the time people aren't listening. So you're saying stuff, and your worldview is framed inside a certain understanding that most of the time people go, yeah, mate, I agree, all bloody immigrants, get them out. No, mate, I only voted Brexit because of the immigrants. I'm like, you're an idiot. That's, you know, you really are an idiot.
Yeah.
If you voted Brexit because of that. Because they're going to make a difference to immigration. No. And what do? Now send all the British expats that are all living over in, you know, how many...
Get them back.
How many British people are living in Australia or in
the millions, isn't it?
Italy or Spain, or how many people do you know live in France? I know quite a few.
Yeah.
Well, off you pop, come back. You're now back in Leicester. Forget the Dordogne. That's just a history. Nothing really. I don't know. But you get my point. It's like well, the whole thing's kind of. And it's not about racism per se. I think it's about the kind of thinking most people are doing.
People don't have an awareness.
Yeah, and I think that's what I mean by holding the education system complicit. Because if kids and people are coming out and they're having those limiting beliefs, well, you've had them for 15,000 hours. You've had them for 15.
What else can we put in there?
15,000 hours. You've squandered the most valuable asset on the planet, is human spirit. You squandered it. And you're complicit, and I want to hold you accountable. And you know, when Tyler or Senna come over to school, they tell me something, I say, wow, is that what I told you? They go, yeah. And I said, what do you think? They go, it's rubbish, Dad. I'm like, I haven't lost them yet.
But then this is it, you've taught your kids to question things, haven't you? And that's what they don't have. So that's why I'm saying parenting from day one, you know, you can't have that because I said so. And it's like, well, the kids are asking a question, you've got to give them an answer. You should never say because I said so. It's getting them to... So we used to sit down when my kids were little, and it would be conversations like, you know, well, I'm not really sure why, what do you think? And we would have a discussion on things. And it's like, well, okay, you want the third chocolate biscuit? Really? Is that such a good idea? And just... Moment
on the lips, lifetime on the hips.
You've seen my two. They're so skinny.
Yeah, maybe should have some more chocolate biscuits.
But so... I think we all have to take responsibility for it, and we all have to take responsibility for where the education system is at.
Yes.
And we all have to take responsibility on how we can improve it. So by saying, there's the school and it's a terrible place and my kids have to go, it's like, well, no, get in that school, make it not a terrible place. Be part of it to ensure that your kids are having the best, find out who the good teachers are, enrol them, make sure there's a BeCollaboration meeting in there, make sure there's something that's... I mean, Dave Neese went in for about 4 years in order to empower children in their thinking skills. That's the kind of thing that we need people to step up and do.
I went wannabe. That's why I go wannabe. Not, you know, I'm not going up there for any other reason.
Yeah.
To be 200 kids, hopefully a couple of them will get, or whatever, you know, or contribute to the experience they get on the day. And I think it's finding your... I think this is the thing. I think the powerful thing about BeCollaboration is finding... so to find your purpose. I don't mean it like that, right? But find your way of making a difference. Your way of making a difference could be writing. Not everybody's going to set up a podcast and talk to camera. Not everyone's going to set up a membership organisation or write a book. Right? They're very nuanced skills in the grand
scheme of things.
I'm not saying anyone can do it, but you know, then they find where your self-expression. It could be in your art. It could be, it could be going to an old people's home and taking care of people. Whatever it is, be true to yourself. It's find your expression that makes a difference.
And some of the time you've got to try stuff out to see. And it's the thing that makes you glow and feel good about yourself is the thing that's going to be having a greater impact. If you're doing something because you feel you should, like going to an old people's home and think, I really should go and do that, you're probably not honouring your own spirit and your own destiny and what you should be doing. It might be that you should be with kids. It might be that you should be writing a book or doing something else. But it's trying it, doing something. Just don't do nothing. Yeah. Or don't feel. And I think also the other thing is this experience of that what you do does make a difference. Yeah. You know, if and I think that's where I kind of find heartbreaking is where people kind of already are in a position where they view the world as, well, what's the point? Nothing's going to change. Yeah. Now, if I was running the planet and I was running the way it's running like that, I'd be like, yeah, that's all right with me, mate. You crack on. Keep paying your taxes, shut the hell up, go and have a beer. You know. Yeah. But if you are, you know, I know every day, every moment, I am making a difference. Yeah. And I have to believe that because I think I've been where that wasn't the case, and that for me was like, you know, I could probably end up a very depressed, unhappy human being if I didn't have the experience of making a difference. I don't know about you. Well, absolutely. It's, you know, if for people that are depressed, and Claire said this before, hasn't she? There's, you know, Claire Evans, that, you know, being desperately depressed, manic depressive or whatever, and then happy, it's not one big jump. It's lots of little incremental steps. And if you can do something that's going to make other people happy, that's hard. You know, to my mind, as you say, you give someone a smile, they smile back, and it makes you feel good. So you're not giving anything away, you're getting something in return just by something that you've done. So whatever it is you can do is going to have an impact. But imagine like a cynical ear would hear that and goes, oh, we're smiling, so we're going to change the banking system. And I think if you follow the thread of this conversation, it's everything's making a difference. Yeah. And I think if we're going to break out the fear, scarcity, competition push, there is loads of... Look, by the way, you know, my if you like, my disclaimer here is, I know there's fantastic teachers out there. I know there's fantastic teachers. I had fantastic teachers when I was growing up. I'm not saying that. I understand. And history is an important thing, and science is... But I think if you're going to be a critical... I think we have to support our human species to question and challenge. If things are the way they are and we want them to be different, how are we going to take a responsibility for that? How are we going to explore... Whether it's running a youth group, whether it's, you know, at the end of the day, someone will come into your care or be open to your impression or your influence. What are you peddling? What are you peddling? Are you peddling what's possible? Or are you complicit in the way it is? Or are you cynical and resigned and like, I can't... And heading for depression. Old, lonely and right. Old, lonely and right, yeah. And, you know, this whole idea of, you know, like, and the very people we go to when we're down is like prescription drugs or alcoholism or eating too much or buying another pair of shoes or you know, whatever your thing is. I think in the journey of all this is kind of get to grips with the way you sell out and what's possible, because that's the other thing is, I think there's not a person that'd be watching this that knows they couldn't make more of a difference. And I'm not saying you have to do more. I think what we're saying is be, you know, for me, you know, that idea of being courageous, compassionate, transforming the human experience is why the only reason I'm making this, we're making it, for me anyway, the only reason I'm making this podcast. Now, if some of you listen to this and think, well, that's interesting, I'll come to BeCollaboration. Fantastic, come meet us. If you're listening to this and think, what a load of rubbish, you know what, put BBC back on. It's fine, you know, we you know, at the end of the day, we're all free will, you can choose what you want to do at the end of the day. I don't know, how are we doing for time? I think you've got to stop talking, haven't you? I think we've got to stop talking. That went quick. Wow. I enjoyed that. Good. Did you enjoy that? So hopefully it made some sense somewhere along the line. Alright, so listen, we covered a lot of subjects. You know, like I said, and both you and I think you get the sense that it is about making a difference, impacting our society, having a great life. If anything we've said has deeply upset you, well, good luck. No, listen, you know, message us, get in communication. No, I'm sure a lot of what we've said may challenge, you may agree. Either way, you know, we all are where we are, and if you want to get more into being around what BeColl is about and what we're doing and why we're engaging humanity to make a difference to itself, then, you know, when's the next meeting? Essex. 6th of April. And the 13th is in Hertford. Yeah. And then the rest are on the website. Yeah, all on the website, www.becollaboration.com meetings. Yeah, thank you for listening in. Thank you, Jill. I've really enjoyed engaging with you today. Thank you so much. And I just think if you're curious or you've listened and you've gone, what the... then just get in touch. You know, we'd love to have a dialogue and continue the conversation. And if you don't want to do it online, then certainly come to a meeting. It'd be great to meet and hear your views and your thoughts and your opinions, whether you agree or disagree. Anyway, be good to see you then.
Take care. Bye.
Cheers, bye.